Hello, hello. Welcome to Ram and Goat Astrology. We have one goat out sick, and I got a replacement goat. So we have my husband here today, Philip.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
So Helena is home sick, and we had this scheduled anyways. So I mean, we would love to have her on, but
We miss Helena.
I know. She's so fun. So we're going to do a guest reading here today. So Philip's birthday is coming up. How old are you going to be?
Oh, how many decades have I been
I don't
alive?
know.
41.
You'll be 41. Okay.
4-1.
I've been 41 for 9 months. I like it. It's been working well for me.
That's good.
Right? I know. So today we're going to do a solar return reading for you. And we've done this before. These are fairly new to me as far as astrology goes. I was just introduced to solar returns by one of the instructors at Deborah Silverman's school, Applied Astrology. One of her instructors, Nick, he's amazing, was kind enough to suggest this to me. And he wished me a happy birthday and said, "Hey, have you had a solar return reading done?" And I said, "What? What is this thing?" And he did one for me, and it freaking blew my mind how helpful it was with the timing of events and understanding like what is the energy we're going through, right? Like what are the lessons we're to be learning and what our assignment is for the year. That's really how I understand it, right? So I've been really diving into solar return readings for people, for clients, and for my family. We explore them quite a bit with our kids and whatnot. And I think it's been super helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, in a way, explains a little bit about what you're going through
Yeah.
for the year. It doesn't necessarily predict, what you're going to go through per se, but it kind of gives you an idea of where the energies are at.
Exactly.
And how you're feeling.
So for me this year, I turned 41 and then I had a baby 2 weeks later. And my solar return reading this year when I turned 41 was very like internal, right? It was all 12th house stuff. It was a Taurus rising. And for me, natally, that's not comfortable, right? Like I don't want to have all of my stuff in the 12th house hidden from me and not easily accessible, and be quiet and meditate and do your art and do your spiritual stuff and go internal is what that felt like to me and still feels like. And I didn't like it, but I understood it, right? I understood that's the assignment this year.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 months left, and I appreciate the knowledge of this is where I am. And then I looked ahead at my next year's solar return, and it's very different, which it's more out there, right? Which I love. Yeah. And it makes me feel like, okay, a big change is coming. And I can sense that. So for me, it's just super helpful to accept the energy that we're in for the year. And then that's what our assignment is. And knowing it's just a year, right? Like I can do it for a year. Hopefully.
Just got to make it through.
Right? So we are going to dive into your solar return reading for this year. So natally, just to give everybody a good feel. So you have a lot of stuff going on in Capricorn. So Capricorn season for you is very active time for you to be kind of awakening anyway into new concepts. So you've got your sun at 1 degree Capricorn. You're just a little baby Capricorn with how you identify. Then you've got the asteroid Ceres. She's at 5 degrees Capricorn. Venus is at 13 Capricorn. Mercury's at 19 Capricorn. And then asteroid Juno is 26 Capricorn, right next to your career. So Juno represents your partner, your deep life partner, your marriage partner, just how you do partnership really well. And it's right next to your career, which makes a ton of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, for sure.
How much have I been an influence in your careers?
Oh, majorly.
I think that's fun. Yeah. So you've got a Taurus rising natally at 21 degrees Taurus, and then a lot of earth in your chart. A little bit of fire, a little bit of water, just 2 things in air. Don't worry, I make up for that. We're good. I
Plenty
got
of
you.
air for me.
I got you covered. So your solar return reading for or chart for last year when you turned 40 was quite different than your natal chart. And you really rocked this year with this first house. So
Really? You
last
think so?
year, I do. You went on stage and
Did?
you did tons of performances like out of nowhere. You were just like,
Oh, it wasn't
I'm
out of nowhere.
well, I
Let's be real
suggested
there.
it.
Yes. You suggested. You signed me up.
I gave a little
It wasn't
nudge.
just me.
Okay.
See,
So
back to that Juno thing.
I give you a little goat horns up the butt, just a little bit.
Uh,
So this past year, when you turned 40, you showed up as a Sagittarius rising, which is so different than Taurus. So different. And Sag is new things, learning, trying new things, exploring new philosophies, education, being that guru. And then your chart went Sun at 1 degree Capricorn, Moon at 3 degrees Capricorn, Venus, Mercury, and Pluto, all 16, 21, and 27 degrees Capricorn, all in your first house, which is this Aries energy of let's do new things. Let's try new things. Let's experiment. Let's give this a go. If we don't like it, we'll try something else. And boy, did we try new things this year, didn't you?
yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
you don't have to do the whole story, but tell the listeners like some of the new things you dove into this year because I think it's intriguing.
Well, the one we just talked about was getting into performing on stage.
Yep.
So doing a play at a fairly local theater, and it would help us doing that with my son at first and getting into it.
That was a musical.
No,
That one was a play. Yep.
It was a play. And then I decided to try one for myself and definitely got in over my head on the second one.
Whoops.
But it was a good challenge and I enjoyed the challenge and it was fun overall.
That second one was called
Waiting for Godot, which if any of you listeners have ever or haven't experienced it, I would suggest, just looking it up and researching it because it's very interesting.
It's intriguing.
It's a very interesting play. It's a existential
comedy,
yeah,
dramedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's really when we first set it up, it was talked about as being similar to like an episode of Seinfeld where it's really about nothing per se, but yet there's a lot that happens
within
that nothing.
Yeah.
And with Waiting for Godot, there's just no real continuity through it. So it's a very challenging play to memorize your lines and know when to say your lines and things like that. So
yeah, because there's no flow. It's real jarring kind of.
No, and you're going back and forth to the same subjects and whatnot.
So in my mind, that really speaks to your Mercury in Capricorn in the first house. That is like you put your mind to the test because Capricorn loves testing things, right? And we have goats and we have one goat who gets out frequently. We don't know how. None of us have figured out how this goat gets out, but she's tested everything. She's tested the fences. And this is what Capricorns are known for. They're known to put themselves under these intense situations or in these intense situations to see if they can do it. Like really just because they like the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why I did it. I didn't know going into Waiting for Godot that it was going to be as challenging as it was. The first play I did, I had maybe a dozen lines in that. And then for Waiting for Godot, I was in the whole show and had more
all
of the lines.
lines. Yeah,
most of the lines. So
yeah, you were the lead.
So yeah, it was, and I think I wanted to challenge and see because I memorized those 12 lines or whatever for that first show, and it wasn't a big problem. And then so I thought if I could challenge myself to another show, and see what I could do. And this one definitely pushed those limits of what I can memorize, and I was very proud of myself that I was able to pretty much memorize the whole thing and even some of the other parts just so I know when to come in. But
it was a good show. You did really well. I was really proud of you as somebody who's also been on stage. Phillip and I met. We were high school sweethearts. We were friends for a long time. And then I decided we should be more than friends. So here we are. Pretty much that's how our life goes. Like Laura decides something and there we go.
Yep.
But I have seen you on stage, but it's been 20 years, 20 plus. But I love that different side of you. I love seeing this different personality coming out, even though like I know you well, right? We work together, live together, raise our children, homeschool our children, farm together. And still the solar return charts give us this new opportunity to experience new energies in a new way. And you had so much first house stuff this year. So putting yourself out there, sun conjunct moon, and then really doing it and going for it with this Aries first house energy. So I think you did great with the assignments you were given this year. And you really transformed. Pluto there, like you really transformed.
Yeah.
And that was just some of the stuff you took on.
Yeah.
We also attempted to buy a new business.
Yeah.
And we're both thankful that that didn't happen, but we did a first house thing and we gave it a go.
Right. Right. And then out of that came another business.
Your new business, yeah.
That I started, which is doing gluten-free baking.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a baker now. Oh my God, we love it. Oh my God.
So
we are so appreciative of this. But in order to get to that career,
I kind of had to go.
You had to go through the other stuff and try it. And the thing with first house energy or anything Aries, which I understand well as my identity, is you try stuff, right? You give it a go. You're like, oh, I like this. I don't like it as much as I thought I would like it, right? And then you set it down and you move on to the thing that you do like. I do that a lot with my hobbies.
Yeah.
I take on a hobby and then I'm like, that one doesn't trip my trigger as much as I thought it was going to.
Sit that one down.
Yep. And that's, I think, what you really explored this year. But you changed the foundation of your life, which is Capricorn, right? You did it in such a Capricorn fashion.
Right.
With the foundation of your life.
Yeah.
And then Saturn in the second house, well, you can't ignore that because Saturn, wherever he is, he causes restrictions and limitations. And for you, that's the financial realm this year. And it was in Aquarius. So you made your money in really weird ways this year.
Yeah.
And very sporadically.
Very sporadically in very different ways.
And you had to be mature and work hard on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was limited and restricted.
Probably this year, probably my lowest gross income I've had in my
adult life.
However, started married,
since we were an adult. And however, I've had the highest I've ever had.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
We've totally swapped after 20 years of you being the financial, mostly financial provider and me doing the children. We've switched, and that feels like a very Aquarian thing to do with Saturn there, 21 degrees in your second house. And then you've got a bunch of other asteroids and Neptune at the tail end of your second house in Pisces. And that was really leaning into a new values of your spirituality and what do you want your artistry and your spirituality to look like, and really being in the flow of creation. And look at you with the freaking baking and the food. Like that's second house stuff too, right? Like, yes.
Yeah.
I love it. You really flowed with whatever dropped on you, right? I sprinkled some ideas of like, hey, I think food is your next career. I think it has to be some kind of baking or making. And that was in June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 9 weeks ago, that you officially kind of became a baker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in fall. So I love Neptune in the second house in Pisces for you. I think that really helped you lean into that. And look at Juno's right next to it at 21 degrees. So there's your wife again.
Yep.
Sprinkling the ideas, sprinkling the goodness.
Right.
And then second house, changing the foundation with, all those Taurus energies, food, money, and like how you relate with people. Your relationships have changed. You don't go do construction anymore.
No.
So you work with new people and
I'm at home with the kids more now.
Right. That's foundational.
Oh yeah.
And you're having to flow there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I love that. And then the fifth house, look at that. I'm going to jump ahead. You've got a couple other, but fifth house this past year, you have Uranus in the fifth house, right in the middle, which I think is comical because you literally have learned how to live with the chaos of our children.
Hmm.
And we have 5 of them.
Yeah.
And that's the 5th house, children of 5, and there it is. And you've had to learn how to stabilize Taurus with the chaos, Uranus, and learn how to have fun and learn how to enjoy and play this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you learned that lesson, or are?
I think that's still up in the air.
We'll see what next year's looks like,
Yeah.
and see what you got.
Yeah.
But I love that, because honestly, wherever Uranus shows up, you're just gonna feel intense chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not what
It's chaos.
it was for you, I mean, we had a baby, so that's chaotic right there.
Baby, we almost started another.
Yep.
Bought a business.
Then we started a business. We're growing our farm business.
Changing our.
But we are learning how
domestic life.
We are learning how to play in that realm as well. It's taken some time because Taurus is slow and steady, but
it's an ongoing thing.
We're getting there. And then you had Mars in Gemini in the 6th house, and that is being of service and health and wellness, taking care of your health. And you've had some health stuff you've been dealing with.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it goes downhill, sometimes it's good. So that Gemini stuff, you've had to be intellectual about it. We had some teeth stuff. You had 2 teeth removed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You've had like a weird skin rash you're dealing with. Like there's all kinds of just it's flared, it's not, it's better, it's not. And that's really what your physical body, Mars, in the 6th house in Gemini would look like. Yeah. So it makes sense that your health's been like sort of okay, sort of not okay. And like wishy-washy. Can't decide. Am I healing? Am I not? I don't know.
Yeah.
How irritating.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
I identify.
It's frustrating not knowing what's actually going on, and
right,
if it actually is getting better or not. It gets better, then it gets worse, and then it gets better, then it gets worse.
What tests to do, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do we do a test? Do we go see a traditional doctor? Do we do a functional doctor? Do we go to acupuncture? Like, what? Throw oils at it, supplement, detox your liver. I mean, like, I've been doing health for a long time, so we have the knowledge, which is Gemini, but we don't know where to take action because it's really wishy-washy. So interesting. So that was your return chart when you turned 40. That feels pretty damn accurate, huh?
Yeah, I'd say I've lived that for the most part this year.
All right. So you ready to see next year's? Okay, here we go.
Of course.
Whoa. No, that's your natal chart. There we go.
That looks normal.
All right. So when you turn 41, you will be an Aries rising. So you get to experience another fire rising. I like that for you. New stuff, launching new, showing up new, like fun, right? Learning to have fun. That's definitely how you're going to show up this year. Yeah. So it's 23 degrees Aries rising. Last year you were 23 degrees Sagittarius, and natally you're 21 degree Taurus. So we got in that 20s realm, the later half of the signs. So that to me indicates like maturity, right? If it's at the beginning of a sign, it's more like you're energy. But if it's at the end, it's like, I've done this a few times. I know how this goes. I know how to be mature about it. So you got this Aries maturity energy here where you understand that new and fun and exciting and play and being the leader and launching is all really important, but also recognize you could show up a little heated. You could get a little hot. You might be a little bit more argumentative.
It might be. What do you think of that?
I got somebody inside's like, yes. I enjoy arguing with you sometimes. It's fun when we get kind of banter and get into it. And honestly, we don't argue much anymore at all. We did when we were younger, of course, but we've really matured out of that to the point where if we do argue, the kids get thrown off. Yeah. They're like, are you guys fighting? What's happening? I was like, calm down. It's all right.
Try to suppress it and, make it better if they can.
Right. Yeah. They try to
necessary.
Yeah. They try to like make things smooth it over. And we're like, no, we like to do this. It's okay. He has an Aries moon. I got Aries sun. We need to do this once in a while. It's important for us to argue. So I feel like this might be a year where we do that. I don't know why I like that, but I do. Then look at this, the first planet that shows up for you in your chart this year, 5 degrees, Jupiter in Taurus. Yes. All right. So when you're looking at a chart, you start with the first house, rising sign, and then you work your way around the chart. The first planet is typically the one that you showcase the most. It's the one that people really identify with and see the most. And for you, it's optimistic and expansive Jupiter. I love that for you. That's so fun.
Sounds nice.
I know. Our daughter Gertie has Jupiter on her rising sign natally. Actually, it's at 3 degrees Taurus. And she really shows up very optimistic, very positive, and she's very quick with that energy of that Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius, rules Sagittarius, and it's a big, fun, playful energy. And even if it's in Taurus, it's still big, fun, and playful, just a little bit slower, but it's still big and fun and playful. But I think it's just such a lovely planet to have near your rising sign. And it brings energetic good fortune to you, right? Like people see that about you and they're like, oh, look, he's Aries rising and look at he's got this exciting new stuff going on, expanding. Man, that's exciting. I'm so happy for you. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a feeling the bakery, this is Taurus, so food, right? Taurus loves food. I have a feeling the bakery is going to take off and you're going to really be expanding in new ways.
Maybe.
And we've been talking about doing courses where you will teach people how to do gluten-free baking, why you found that these flours work and why you use this and that. And right, just educating people on the reason for this. So I think that would be amazing for you to show up Aries rising, like, hey, I'm doing this new thing online. Hi. Right. And then show up in a really big way and expand your reach, expand your income, expand your connectivity with relationships, and expand your food line. Yes. You guys, he just made croissants the other day. We were not here. We were in North Carolina traveling, but he made croissants round 1. And then he made them yesterday morning, round 2. And Gertie and I got to try them for the first time. And they were like a foodgasm in my mouth. It was so phenomenal. I was like, I have to get my phone and record this reaction. Like, this is so good. This is so good. It was flaky. Gertie kept going, look how flaky it is. She was like a judge on the Great Britain Baking Show. I wish you were here. We should have eaten them while you were here. It was so fun. So I'm looking forward to you expanding more in that realm because you're really good at it. And you take that Capricorn nature you have of getting it right, which I so appreciate about you guys. And you do it well. And you're like, I'm doing this and I'm getting this good and I'm going to get it down. And that's not how I roll.
The issue is we never feel like we ever get it right.
Right.
Or at least fully right.
Which pushes you to keep going.
We just keep, trying it, doing it more.
Right. And keep expanding and exploring and whatever and tweaking and changing. And meanwhile, all of your test subjects are like, oh, this is so delicious. So I don't mind that at all. And you have a MC, or your midheaven is at 11 degrees Capricorn this year. And it is having a lovely conversation to Jupiter, your sun at 1 degree Capricorn in the 9th house of being the guru, teaching people. So those are talking lovely and having easy conversations to Jupiter. And that to me says just really good expansion, like really big. If you're taking this Jupiter energy in the 1st house and it's connected in this easy trine to your identity in the 9th house, this year I see you becoming that guru, becoming that professor, becoming that learned one where you then teach others. So again, I can't predict how this is going to show up, but just knowing how we live and knowing what we've been working on in the studio here, creating a second kitchen for you for baking and all of that. I think we were already talking about recording you and
we've been talking about that for a while as far as doing some sort of instructional videos on cooking and baking and things like that.
And then Mercury is right next to your sun sign. Of course, Mercury is always near the sun, but it could be the sign before, the current sign of your sun, or the sign after. For you, it's 29 degrees and 18 minutes Mercury, or Sagittarius. So you've got 29 degrees Sag, Mercury, and it's just at the on the edge of that 8th and ninth house.
Yeah.
So this is all about your communication and speaking, writing, teaching, learning. And so we're going to transform into that ninth house, right? It's at the tail end of the 8th,
Okay.
and that's the transformation. That's the death, rebirth, renewal. And you're going to transform into that learned one. You're now solidly in your 4th decade, right? You are 41.
Yeah.
You're now in it. You've taken a full step into that 4th decade, and you need to use your wisdom and apply it to teaching others.
Right.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're in that transformational, oh, I don't know if what I have to say is important, into, yeah, what I have to say is important and I need to do this. It's that mature step of, and even if they don't want to hear it, there's plenty of other content on the internet they can go find, right? But I'm going to put this out there for the people who do need it and want it and want to look at my beautiful face. And that'd be facey. So we've got Mercury and Sun conjunct each other, both having a beautiful trine to Jupiter. Like, that feels so good when I look at that, and I'm like, finally. Just because I know what your charts have looked like the last couple of years, I know the challenges of worthiness and transformation and self-esteem and all of that you've been going through, whether it's with your finances and career. What do you want to be when you grow up, right? You and I are definitely people who have taken our time figuring that out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
We've tried a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And now you've stepped into being a baker, and I feel like this is a whole new realm for you that you get to play with that you never even considered before. Had you ever considered, like, I'm going to be a baker when I grow up?
No, not at all. I never really had interest in baking, even for the last number of years since you guys were baking, you and Elliot.
Yeah. I've been mostly the baker at home.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't mind that you're doing it now.
Yeah, no, it was never a consideration. It was just more, this was a necessity, and so I stepped into it just because we needed it.
Yeah. Well, and that's something interesting too. If we look back at your chart last year, chaos with children, our son was diagnosed celiac last year. And we have all had to make the shift. Our entire family had to make the shift away from all wheat and all corn.
Yeah.
Because the corn has a glutinous like substance that will trigger him as well. So we got some testing done with him, and interestingly enough, his solar return talks all about his health. He had like 5 planets in the 6th house. I was like, well, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yep. So you've had to make this chaotic kind of sudden change with children, and that makes so much sense that we would utilize that to then launch your new career, which you were already looking for.
Yeah. I was definitely looking for a new career for many years.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure which route it would be.
No, but this past year you had a real interesting situation with Uranus and Pluto. So when we look at his transits on his natal chart, Pluto went over your MC like 4 times. Like, he went over, he went back, he went over, and then he went back and stationed direct, and then went back. So you got a whole bunch of Pluto hits on your career, your life purpose, your contribution to society, the start of your 10th house. And now he'll be trekking through your 10th house and Aquarius, which tells me it's time to then take what you transformed and put it out to the internet, the technology. More. Humanity needs this information. Wheat is becoming incredibly toxic to humans. Our guts are not able to digest it. What I've learned is most people should not be eating today's wheat. Like, the chromosomes of it are really, it's chromosomally changed tremendously from wheat of ancient times.
Yeah.
And add in the genetically modified situation and the Roundup situation, and you have a recipe for basically killing your digestive health, killing your enzymes and all of that. So we can't break it down, we can't digest it, and then it leads to copious amounts of inflammation, which then triggers all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
So I've learned enough as a health coach and, just working on my own medical stuff, my own health stuff, to know that humans need to get away from wheat. And what we've seen on our journey is it's everywhere in society. It's in everything.
Yeah.
It's in everything.
Yeah. You just think about how many meals a day people have wheat and or corn
everything
involved, which is pretty much every meal of the day. So
your
body's just overly inundated with, these two basic grains, that have been, basically made into these very simple things that, our body just doesn't know how to continue
digest. Yeah, indigestible things. Now we've separated ourselves from it so much, and the more I learn, the more podcasts I listen to, the more books I read, the more I'm like, this has to be the trend. This has to be what we shift to. And I think you're at the cutting edge of it. And I mean, I remember when I was pregnant with Elliot and my midwife had celiac, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of that. And she started to introduce me to where wheat was. And she's like, look, it's in these hot dogs. And I was like, what? It's in hot dogs? I couldn't believe that there was wheat gluten in hot dogs. Like, it just didn't.
It's in everything.
It's in everything. And now since then, even the almond milk yogurt that we get, or we were looking at getting, had cornstarch in it. Corn and wheat are in absolutely everything. So I think for you to be utilizing this Pluto trekking through your career life purpose house is really helping to educate people and doing your part, right? Doing your part in, okay, well, we obviously love bread.
Yeah.
Right? Humans love bread.
Yeah.
And our family was real sad about the bread situation.
Yeah.
And that's why you do what you do. What's your slogan?
For the love of bread.
For the love of bread. Because we wanted bread again, damn it.
Yeah. Well, it's so important to just humanity, and in general, bread has been a part of our
breaking bread. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of our cultures. It is so many different cultures, but mainly the agricultural cultures. But in any case, it just is taken over, and people want to have access to that.
Yep. So I love that you're here to help transform for the next how many years. Pluto's going to go through your 10th and then 11th house, but it is here. It is a big placement in your chart. And then at the same time you went through that, Uranus went over your rising sign. So now we've got, you must transform your career. You absolutely have to. It's like non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And then Uranus is like, oh, by the way, you need to change who you are. It's important that you completely change and not show up the same way anymore. And those two happened simultaneously, and they both hit your rising and midheaven, and then they went off, and then they went on, and you've had this back and forth shift of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's been your 40th year, which
a lot of whiplash.
And we had a baby.
It's a good distraction, I guess, from everything else going on.
Hey, Ram and Goat fans, Laura Lee here. Have you joined the Cosmic Mama Collective yet? If not, get on it. Founding member pricing is still active, but it won't be for long. We can't wait to have you there in the gatherings, learning alongside of us, helping us to reparent ourselves while we learn to parent the next generation in a much smoother way. Can't wait to have you among the stars with us. So this year with your assignment, there's some more transformation. You've got Mars square in the middle of your 8th house, and that's in Sagittarius. So Mars in Sagittarius, and he's having a trine, an easy conversation to your rising sign, almost exact 21 degrees and 23 degrees. But this trine for transforming how you show up feels like that's going to be your driving factor this year. Like you really want to get in a new car, right? Energetic car. You want to get in a new car. You want to drive things differently. You want to drive in on new roads. You want to explore and experience new things. And Sag and Aries are just going to help you. So I find this super intriguing because our son that we just had has a Aries sun sign and a Sagittarius moon. And it's very similar degrees. Very, very similar degrees. They're only a few degrees off. And I just was reading his chart not too long ago, and I think I told you he's here to transform your stuff, your lineage, your ancestral, wounds and worthiness stuff. Like that's what he's here to do. And I have a feeling it starts this year. Well, it's already started because he's here.
Right.
But like
it has started this year.
More active energy is going to be applied there.
Yeah.
I find that just super intriguing, the placements here. Just knowing what I know. And then I just did an ancestral astrology class 2 weeks ago. I took a course on really digging deep into the ancestral patterns in people's charts. And I'm looking at your chart going, well, look at you. You get to do some work this year. Woo! So Mars right in the middle. You're going to just be driven to be like, all right, what new thing can I learn? What book can I read? What podcast can I consume to give me new tools to keep doing this transformation work? Do you want to go do a hypnosis session, right? Or a quantum healing, whatever, right? Like that's the kind of stuff I can see with Mars and Mercury and Ceres, which is at 12 degrees Sagittarius at the beginning of the eighth house. Ceres again is the asteroid that I bring in for how you feel nourished, how you nourish yourself with food, how you nourish your soul with your spiritual energy stuff that you like to drink in, whether that's going out for walks in the woods or meditations or reading or art. How do you nourish your soul, right? How do you nourish yourself and take care of yourself? And Ceres is in eighth house here, Sag. So I see that as like you really do want to put more time and effort into your transformation and your spiritual development, your philosophical understandings, right? I can see you getting more into or deeper into Alan Watts again. You're a big fan of him. If you guys haven't checked him out, I encourage it. He's a little monotonous.
Well, it depends on what you're listening to.
But he's got good lectures. Stuff. Yeah.
He does lectures, so it's like a classroom lecture or whatever.
What do you like about Alan Watts the most?
Well, he can take some very abstract and difficult concepts to understand, some of the most basic and simple things, and he can make it, I guess, make it a little bit more approachable or a little bit more
bite-sized,
palatable.
Yeah.
And it just explains it in a way, and sometimes in an entertaining way that gives you a new perspective on why things are the way they are. So it just he can keep helping you remind you of what you are, why you're here, but then also educate on other cultures and how a lot of these philosophies and cultural ideals are similar amongst all these religions and philosophies and things like that. So I don't know, he could just really take these very big expansive ideas and really put them into something that's more tangible for us to understand.
When was the last time you listened to something from him?
Probably last week.
Okay. You do listen to him frequently, I do know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I see that kind of stuff, maybe him, maybe deeper stuff, right? Maybe getting more into, we've got the Gaia network, maybe getting more into that. But Sag energy is so philosophical, and it can be in that kind of spiritual realm along with Pisces, right? Like they can kind of go together. And then Mars wants you to drive. It wants you to go, wants you to take action. It's also the physical body. So we need to work on transforming how you manage your physical body, which we talked about you doing your Qigong more, right? You got into that a while ago and haven't done it much lately.
No.
But you did really well with it.
last year I did it mostly during last summer.
Yeah.
But just kind of got away from that.
We had a baby. We just keep blaming everything on that.
Yeah.
It's a legit excuse. It is.
It's just a baby. It's the other kids and going to school and all that kind of stuff.
All of that. Yeah. Yeah. So this year, transformation and learning more about your physical body too, and the things that drive you. What makes your physical body feel good? Maybe the qigong isn't it anymore. Maybe it's doing I don't know, hot yoga. I don't know, right? It could just be anything that is new and different that you haven't maybe considered. Maybe it's a branch of qigong that you didn't know about, right? But something transformational. You may be just transforming your workout routine in general and recognizing that it's really way more important than you were giving it before, give it more energy.
Yeah.
So, and then you'll feel good about that, right? Ceres wants you to really feel good and nourish yourself. So, taking on new foods, right? That's what I see there too. So excited. What are you gonna learn to bake, make, cook?
I don't
any of it. Do it
who
all.
knows?
Love it. So a lot of people want to know when they're gonna get laid and when they're gonna get paid. That's really the astrology questions that we get the most. And we got to look at Venus for that. And Venus for you is smack dab in the middle of your 7th house, 22 degrees Scorpio. So she is asking you to lean into partnership, whether that's marriage partnership or a business partnership or collaborating with somebody. Your money this year, your relationships are going to be very important within that partnership thing. So business for you will look like the buddy system.
Okay.
Does that feel good?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have been buddy system for a good 24 years now,
right.
And it could be me, or it's talking over here to Uranus and the moon in the 1st house in Taurus. So it could be somebody else because there's some chaos and change here. So it could be maybe you take your son on as an apprentice or one of the kids, or maybe you start working with somebody in the local community, and baking at their facility or expanding into soups it's something new, and the change could happen just like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of a sudden you come home from doing a delivery and you're like, hey, guess what? And I'll be like, yeah, I knew that.
I knew that was coming.
I knew I had it coming. So that's important to know. And Saturn and Venus, they're not in a tight square. It's actually quite a wide square because he's at 2 degrees Pisces. So it's quite wide, but they are still in a square ish energy.
Okay.
Luckily, it's not a real exact or real tight square, so I feel like that's okay. But just know that finances, you're going to have to work hard. Saturn's going to say be mature and work hard and heal your crap from the past, because 12th house. So Saturn and Pisces, past, 12th house, past, unconscious stuff. There's a bunch of unconscious crap underneath that needs to come up to the surface so that you can deal with it and heal it, so that you can work on worthiness around receiving income.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, Saturn is, I've come to appreciate him, but he can be a bugger. It's like having a principal follow you around at school all the time, making sure you're doing your homework, or the cop riding on your butt behind you on the highway, and you're like, I don't want him to be there anymore. Like, you're not doing anything wrong, but you just don't want a cop on your ass, right?
Right.
You're just like, is the vehicle registered? Is insurance good? Am I going 65? Okay, right? Like, you're fine, but it adds stress.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
That's what's happening. Now, the cop's not right on your butt, but he's right.
He's there.
He's like 2 cars behind.
Yeah.
You got to be careful because he's unconscious. So he may come out of nowhere when you're not paying attention and suddenly pull you over and be like, why weren't you doing what you were supposed to be doing? You're like, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know you were there. Right?
Yeah.
So having Venus in the 7th house, I think, will be helpful for you, because that can be like a navigator going, hey, remember that cop's back there.
Oh, okay.
Saturn the cop is right back there. Remember, you got, hang on. you going the speed limit? Your foot's getting a little heavy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do that to you.
Oh yeah.
I know you do that when you drive once in a while. Like your foot will just push the gas faster and faster, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, it's 45 here, man.
Yeah, that's easy.
Slow her down.
It's a regular thing.
So you need that a little bit reminder, and I think that seventh house energy will be helpful for you to remind you just to keep working hard, keep sticking to the plan, stay diligent, and things will work out. But that to me seems like where you would really gain your wisdom from. And your wisdom planet, Pallas Athena, is right there too. 14 degrees, Scorpio, seventh house. So your wisdom, your feminine wisdom planet, she's the chief negotiator. And she's having a sextile to your career house. So again, partnership should be really, really beneficial for you this year. Really beneficial.
Okay.
So if you have, I know you work with quite a few, local people with your deliveries and your bread and whatnot. I can see those starting to grow a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
Okay.
I like that for you.
All right.
I like that. But you are going to have some emotions around it, and you're going to feel emotionally chaotic because it's going to be growing and probably rapidly. Look at this Jupiter here, first house. It probably will be rapid and expand very quick, and we'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle this. And then that chaos next to your moon, 22-degree Taurus moon, 19-degree Uranus, both in Taurus, that's going to feel emotionally heavy. And that chaos and that nervous system stress. This is the planet that rules our electrical system or our stress system.
Okay.
And it's right next to your moon. This is not an easy placement. This is not.
Great.
It's not. And I mean, this is where it's helpful to know, right? Like now you know this year your stress and emotions are intricately tied together, and your job is to work on the practices that you have all the tools in your well, they might not be in the toolbox, they might be scattered around the house, but you have the tools to support yourself. The mindfulness practices, the Alan Wattses, the podcasts, the Gaia TVs, whatever you need, right? The woods in the back, go light a campfire and sit there for 20 minutes, but you have the practices to deal with the chaos, the stress, the emotions, and it's what you're supposed to be doing. Mars in the 8th house. You are supposed to be taking the stress and emotions and channeling it through your body into a new way, right? Go out for a run. That'd be one of the best. When was the last time you went for a run?
Gosh, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
Go out and punch the punching bag, right? Something physical, because we got Sagittarius and we got Aries, and then Taurus. While typically we don't think of bulls as very active, but they are, and they can be. And they really do need some type of outlet. Yeah. Occasionally.
Right.
So that feels really good for you. Does that bring up any questions or anything?
I mean, what's my health outlook look like? I mean, as far as what am I going to
do? Right. So we look at Virgo and or the 6th house. And if we look at your chart this year, you have Virgo intercepted in the 6th house.
Okay.
And you have one thing there. And it's me. The asteroid Juno, which represents our long-term partnerships, marriage partnerships, whatever. And she's right there in the middle of Virgo, in the middle of your 6th house. So that tells me that your wife will be the one to help support you with your health journey this year. And you should listen to her.
Don't I always?
No.
Oh.
No, you don't. You stubborn goat. No, you do sometimes, but you usually have this like, I'll do it. Okay, thank you for the info. I'll do it when I want, right? Like I can't push you.
Well, at least I do it eventually.
You do, and I'm grateful. But this year, I would anticipate you and I would be doing some type of health stuff together, and it would look very spiritual as well, very artistic, very flowing, because it's opposite the chart to Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house. So this could look like your health practices for our date night, maybe Friday night date nights. We come out here and we start our date nights with a 20-minute meditation together.
Okay.
Right. So I can see where that would be that health practice that you start to implement. Or maybe we go out and do winter bonfires or something like that. And we do like burning rituals or something like that. Right. There's
Okay.
some kind of like spiritual thing involved with your health. And I see you really leaning into your spirituality to help you maintain, help you bring new ideas, help you just really ask your guides, right? Ask your guides, ask your angels, talk to your loved ones. Say, hey, help me out. Throw me a bone. What do I need to maintain this physical body in this life? Give me a billboard, please. Right?
Right.
And then that billboard will come through your wife.
Mm.
And then I will be the projector of the billboard, and you'll be driving past, and I'll be like, hey, here's what you need to do. And then you'll be like, oh, thanks, Spirit. Right? So,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah, for the most part.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I think that happens sometimes to us anyway, but
Yeah.
now it's in your chart. Now you have to listen.
I have no choice now.
No choice. But I think this has already been something we've been practicing. This is something we have implemented. Now this year it just feels like it's like be mature about it, right? Now I just suggested, I think it was just a few days ago when I got home from our trip, I said, have you taken any of the 5-HTP?
Yeah.
And so 5-HTP is a supplement that was recommended to us, oh my gosh, 10 years ago. I think, I was working at a chiropractic office, and it was recommended to us about 10 years ago, specifically for people who live in the north or have seasonal issues. It's really good for neurotransmitters, basically helping to get the happiness chemicals to transport properly across the synapse. So in your brain, there's these little gaps, and they have to kind of jump, and the happiness chemicals have to jump. And the 5-HTP, my understanding of it, it helps the happy chemicals jump from one side to the other to keep the flow of your good mood going.
Yeah. Okay.
And you've noticed
tremendous. It definitely helped when I took it last.
Yeah,
for sure. It really made a big change.
Yeah. So I think getting you another support of that, or another round of that, would be one of the first ways you can use this Juno opposite Neptune aspect in your chart in Virgo in the 6th house. Okay. So somebody inside of me is like, yes, like I'm so excited you have to listen to me this year. So ridiculous.
I always have to listen to you.
I don't know who this person is, but she's really like, she's like a little, you know how Saffron, when she gets excited, she's like, oh yeah, uh-huh.
That's you right now.
Somebody's doing that inside of me. Our 2-year-old will jump around and like shake her little booty and be like, uh-huh, oh yeah. And now I'm doing that. So I have to just share that because it's fun. I love it. So overall though, with the health, and then of course looking at Mars, because Juno is having 20 degrees Virgo and Mars is 21 degrees Sag, we have to look at the conversation they're having, because that's a square and it's almost an exact square. So the physical body, Mars, is having an exact square with listening to the wife in Virgo in the 6th house of daily routines and being of service and all that. So
that might not come easy.
It's not going to come easy. No, you're going to recognize that your drive is to transform. And, well, I don't want to listen to you. I want to do my own thing. And then you might get a little extra spicy, and then we might argue. There's the argument.
Oh, there it is.
Yes, yep. We found him.
All right.
We get to argue about health. I'm cool with that. That's fun. Oh, solar return charts are so fun. What else? Well, you get your North Node this year on your rising sign. Conjunct your rising sign. It says 22 degrees Aries. Rising sign is 23 degrees. So it's just in the smidge tail end of your 12th house.
Yeah.
And 12th house is, again, dealing with past life traumas, dealing with ancestral traumas, dealing with, just the generational crap that isn't serving you anymore. And leaning into the artistry and the flow and the spiritual connection and creating a conscious awareness around the unconscious stuff we've stuffed. Okay. And 15 degrees Aries is where Chiron is at. So you're going to be doing some healing this year around all of the themes I just talked about.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think is cool. I think everybody needs to do that. This year you get to work hard on it. Saturn.
Seems to be a common theme for me.
Right? You get to have Neptune in there, so you get some spiritual support. And then we've got Chiron, which is the key to our healing. And then your North Node, which is like the Google map of your soul, right? Like where is the end destination your soul is headed? Now you can take any number of routes there, but that's where you're going. And this year, your map is to go to the point of where you show up. You get to like do the full circle and then show up. It's almost
start over.
Yeah, it's almost like that precipice of birth, right? Are you in the earthly realm or are you in the spiritual realm, right? Where are you in this journey of newness and Aries energy? You get to kind of rebirth yourself, and that sounds fun.
Yeah.
One more thing too, somebody just brought up in my brain was writing. You have Vesta, which is an asteroid I like to play around with. She's 29 degrees at the tail end of your second house. And this is she looks like a torch, doesn't she? There's like a little flame there. It's like the flame that calls us and pulls us. And she's at the tail end of your second house, which is finances, stability, money, values. And right entering into the third of communication. And then you've got Gemini, which is communication, and writing. And then Sag can also be a lot of writing as well, a lot of putting energy out there and communicating it out there. So I know you've wanted to write for years and you've done a little bit here and there. Yeah. Do you feel that coming up for you, or I haven't thought about it?
No, I've been thinking about it more. It's a matter of what avenue to take with the writing. What do I want to write? That's been always my struggle.
Oh, I just saw a title. Do you want to know it? Becoming Baker Pip. Like, what's your journey? Like, how did you become a 41-year-old gluten-free baker? Right? Like,
I mean,
that'd be an interesting. Well. Maybe you do blog posts or something on that, or write an actual book.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
Becoming Baker Pip.
Well, and we talked about maybe doing like a cookbook or something too at some point. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is definitely something I'm thinking about more.
Cool. Well, this should
do more of.
This looks like a year that you very much could embrace that for sure, especially with Aries rising. Do something new, do something fun.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Right.
And then your first house, Jupiter, like show up big, man. Go big or go home.
Right.
Good thing you're a big guy. And you're already home. So ta-da.
Right.
And then if you did do writing, that would cause some stress and that would lead to some emotional chaos within you, right? Yeah. That would definitely trigger that. Your natal chart has Chiron on your rising.
Yeah.
So you feel that frequently. I know you do. We talk about it often.
Yeah.
And this year, right where your natal rising and Chiron are, happen to be where Uranus and the moon are. So I feel like if you did put something out there, if you did decide to publish this year, which I would love to support you there, but if you had that opportunity and did that opportunity, it would, for you personally, probably cause some emotional chaos and make you feel like,
probably one way or another. Yeah. Am I ready for this?
Right. But then look you do go through the emotional chaos and then you get your money by working with a partner and publishing something or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
Oh, I like that. How's that feel for you?
Pretty good.
Feel like a good 41st year?
Yeah, be interesting to see how this plays out.
I like this.
I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah.
I know. It's kind of like a fun preview trailer to your movie that isn't produced yet.
Yeah. Very basic, very vague one.
Vague movie trailer.
Images of certain things, but they don't really correlate or anything.
Bound to be a good movie.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anytime you and I are involved, it's entertainment at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so fun. Any other questions? Anything else you want to chat about?
No, I think I'm good.
Feel like we gave you a good rundown, brief, but good. We could always dive in deeper throughout the year as we get going, but
yeah.
Cool. Well, that was fun. Thanks for being my partner today and filling in for
Glad to be your goat.
my goat. I needed a goat. Poor Helena. She'll be back next week. She's starting to feel better, but she's still coughing up a storm. And she's like, I can't record a podcast while I'm hacking. So we filled in for her. We had a goat on standby. And I appreciate you filling in and doing we were going to do your solar return reading anyway. So.
Right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will catch you next time. And if you want to be on the show or get your solar return reading done, you can just click the links below, and we can't wait to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Ram and Goat Astrology. You can support the show by buying us a coffee or a tea. Link in the show notes. Your financial support means the world to us. Join us next time.